Let's hire your tube!
Metro 2033 is an FPS survival horror game set during a nuclear winter, taking place in the Moscow underground where humanity has found refuge in the metro stations and tunnels. It sets you on a tight linear track, pun intended, and will have you crawl through maintenance tunnels, fight mutants, Nazis, communists, scrounge resources from dead bodies, barely survive on the surface, and deal with paranormal and psychic events. But is it a classic? Metro 2033 creates atmosphere and does environmental storytelling very well. Going through the game, you develop a solid idea of the claustrophobic, dank and dirty conditions the survivors of the nuclear apocalypse have to contend with. Not to mention the apparent ever-present problem of mutant attacks and this new, somewhat ambiguous threat of the Dark Ones. And this is where they're safe, underground. Because above ground, a nuclear winter still rages, the air is contaminated, and mutants are everywhere, some of them being impervious to your weapons. The world in Metro 2033 is appropriately stitched together from the scrounged up remains of the old world. It isn't extremely clear what exactly they eat, although we do see pigs being raised and vodka being drunk, so I assume they managed to grow something else beside mushrooms, or they feed the mushrooms to the pigs and make mushroom vodka. Not really sure you can do that last one though, but where there's a Slav there's a way. The currency of choice has become military-grade bullets, which is thematic and makes quite a bit of poetic sense as well, considering the brutality of this post-apocalyptic world. Not only do the survivors have to fight the mutated animals, but they also choose to fight each other, because no matter how dire the situation, humans will never pass up an opportunity of being garbage to each other. The survivors have moved into the massive metro stations and developed settlements into something akin to ancient independent city-states, station-states if you will, some of them being built around Nazi and communist ideologies, because both those ideas worked so well in the past. And in the spirit of that relationship, these two factions are at constant war with each other, and this conflict is spilling over to an ever-increasing number of other settlements. In this very harsh environment, you're tasked with reaching a particular organization within the metro system, relay a message, and then see what happens next. Getting there, however, will have you narrowly avoid death on more than one occasion. In fact, that's more or less all you do. You avoid dying while navigating the tunnels towards your destinations, and then you avoid getting killed once you reach said destinations because not all of them are friendly. Even though you will spend the majority of playtime underground, the parts of the game when you have to venture to the surface are by far the most fascinating. Exploring the frozen and mutant-infested post-apocalyptic metropolis is unfortunately always a timed event of sorts, because you are limited by the number of filters you have on you. Once you're out of filters, you will quickly suffocate. And when you die because of a lack of filters and you're outside, you'll most likely have to restart that chapter and get more filters as you progress through it, or simply move much faster once you've learned where you have to go and what you have to do. Where the game really shines is its stealth and survival aspects. You can fit silencers and sights to your weapons, can do stealth kills from up close or from farther away with throwing knives or a crossbow. You can also turn off lights to hide your presence. In terms of survival, you're limited to carrying only 3 weapons and a fixed amount of ammo for each, as well as a couple of other throwable things. You can also only carry a maximum of 20 minutes worth of gas mask filters. Unfortunately, due to the enemy AI, which I'll get to in a second, it becomes apparent that it will be much quicker for you to simply call your duty your way through the enemies rather than thief your way around them. Combat against the mutant creatures is highly chaotic and kinda difficult to follow. The recoil and muzzle flash are simply too high to properly gauge what's going on, and maybe that was the developer's intent. The human enemy AI on the other hand is severely lackluster, as opposed to the mutant creature AI, which I found to be not bad, but that's maybe because they're limited to melee and attacking in groups. By far the game is at its weakest when the stealth survival aspect is dropped and it tries to be Medal of Honor. The ye-wolde bullet spongy one-man army 80s action hero type portions of the game are devoid of any sort of real urgency or actual suspense. The amount of enemies that would still advance on a door frame literally blocked with the corpses of their colleagues reminded me of the AI from as far back as Project IGI. On the other hand, I did play the game on its survival setting, not the pew-pew setting, so I am only attesting to the AI in the mode the game was initially meant to be played in. The defense against mutant sequences are generally uninspired, repetitive, and mainly there to drain your ammo and healing kits, as well as add more shooty sequences to the game. I think only the first one really delivers in terms of horror and suspense. They do make some sense story-wise, but there's just too many of them for me to take seriously within the context of a survival game. By the fourth one, it becomes clear they're there just to appease the Medal of Honor part of the audience. So now comes up the question, what maketh a video game a classic? Some would say it's subjective, some would say it depends, and there's definitely something to be said about subjective classics, which I talk about in this series as well. But in order for a game to be an objective classic, it has to be considered to be good over a period of time, has to be remembered as such, and also it has to stand up to current day scrutiny. And I also consider that 10 years is the minimum period required for such a hindsight-based judgment to take place. In this case, we're just past that. Metro 2033 was quite possibly the last single-player FPS I played at release. I mean, mainly an FPS, not something with RPG elements in it like the 3D Fallout or Deus Ex Human Evolution. I was very curious to see how I would experience Metro 2033 now, seeing as how I haven't been really interested in FPSs for more than a decade, and also remembering that when I played it 10 plus years ago, I dropped it relatively quickly. I quite enjoyed the experience. It's not something I felt the need to continue through the second installment, but I definitely do not regret playing the game. Even if I would have preferred it to be way more stealth survival than it was, but that's just me. Metro 2033 features an interesting story and compelling world, and has spawned a very lucrative and generally appreciated series of video games as well as an active community of fans. It had two sequels, Last Light in 2013 and Exodus in 2019, as well as a compilation special edition of the first two games titled Metro 2033 Redux in 2014, this being the version I played, which I suggest you play as well. It was quite appreciated at release and has remained in the gaming public's eye thanks to its sequels and devoted fanbase. It obviously can still be played today, even if you'll have to run it in compatibility mode with older versions of Windows if you're running Windows 10. It's a bit hard to definitely say whether or not Metro 2033 counts as an objective classic though. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Make sure to check out the rest of my Is It a Classic series by clicking on the image on the screen. I'm Steve Nonsense, I have a Patreon, thank you very much for watching and see you in my next video.